Mr. Speaker, members of this Honourable House, I rise in wholehearted support of Budget 2018, which is very aptly themed, "The Journey Towards Good Life Continues." This administration's approach to governance, to growing the Guyana economy, to improving the lives and livelihoods of our citizens, no matter where they live, has been clear and concise since 2015. And I will outline our transformational initiatives in the telecommunications sector that is already giving our citizens a taste of the good life. Mr. Speaker, despite all the hot air emanating from the other side of the House and their continuous attempts to deceive our people, even they cannot argue convincingly that our country's infrastructural developments are not taking place and producing a better nation. The strides made towards ICT innovation are producing a new information communication technology industry that is setting up our young citizens to play active roles in their own lives and in the development of new and traditional and emerging industries. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that the UN Sustainable Development Goals recognize the importance of ICT technology in development. In fact, there's a special target, target number 9 of the SDGs, and I quote that target, which says, significantly to increase access to information, communication technology, and striving to provide universal and affordable access to the internet by least developed countries. And in fact, former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon went to great lengths to explain that access to the internet really is a fundamental and human right. So, Mr. Speaker, it is against this background that the mandate of the Ministry of Public Telecommunications is to transform Guyana into a knowledge-based, well-educated society with people and businesses that are productive and globally competitive. ICT has become the main ingredient for development all over the world, and Guyana will not be left behind in that area. Mr. Speaker, 2017 has been a hectic year, and I want to assure my colleague on the other side, the last speaker, that there is absolutely no way that we are tired. We are moving rapidly ahead. And with that said, I am proud to say that the Ministry of Public Telecommunications has achieved the majority of its benchmarks. Based on a very detailed study that was completed in December 2016, we designed a 5-year project to take internet and government e-services to the hinterland poor and remote communities. That project is called the ICT Access to Hinterland Poor and Remote Communities Project. And it is going to be funded by the Guyana-Norway Agreement under the GRIF Fund and will soon be managed by UNDP. I am happy to say that just last Friday, we signed on the dotted line, and that project starts in January 2018. Mr. Speaker, that project will bring tremendous benefits. Over 89,000 residents in approximately 170 communities will have access to over 200 ICT hubs that will be created over a 5-year period. They will have access to online public e-services such as filing tax returns and applying for business compliance certificates. Mr. Speaker, whilst ICT plays a central role, the ultimate goal
members, the use of, we should try to avoid our cell phones being active to disrupt the proceedings of Parliament. I address these remarks to the honourable members, but those remarks are equally applicable to all other persons who are in our chamber. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I was actually, in fact, talking about the important role ICTs will play And the ultimate goal is to enhance the sustainable human development of residents in those hinterland, poor, and remote communities. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, we completed the restructuring of the National Data Management Authority, the NDMA, and it merged with the executing arm of our ministry, the e-government unit. And this was to enable us to satisfy government's commitment to improve the delivery of public services as well as citizen-to-government interaction. So the new purpose of the NDMA is to execute all e-government programs, leveraging e-government as the platform for sustainable economic development. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to say that utilizing our e-government network, which the NDMA now manages, we have been able to provide free internet access to 53 government ministries and agencies, to more than 95 secondary schools, the 3 campuses of the University of Guyana, Cyril Potter College of Education, 37 technical vocational institutions, including the Carnegie School of Home Economics, to the regional offices, to the regional education offices, and to several NGO agencies. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy and excited to boast that the NDMA has worked closely with communities and villages in Region 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10, and has set up 86 ICT hubs and counting, with computers donated by the government, providing access to nearly 200,000 citizens. Mr. Speaker, the establishment of these hubs have been a regular feature, clearly and often reported in our newspapers. We've also connected our regional offices, public hospitals and airports, the police force, the GRA, GPL, GDF, and several other places. Mr. Speaker, finally, in March of 2018, the Center for Excellence, which we built with funds from the Indian government, will be opened. This center will provide specialized ICT training to the members of the public sector. And we're very excited to say that already the center has conducted 3 training programs, training over 100 people within the ICT industry within our public sector. Mr. Speaker, the other important project that will start in early next year is our National Broadband Expansion Project, which is funded by the China Exim Bank. We have completed all the applications and we're just awaiting approval. But that project will bring tremendous benefit in the area of bringing ICT to our health, education, and a range of other services. So when we battle the challenges in our health services in terms of providing services, and we must admit that those challenges have been there for the last 20 years almost. Leaking buildings, lack of washroom facilities, those are not a new thing. And therefore, I'm proud to say that this project will deal with all those issues because we're bringing ICT, the opportunity to bring learning, online learning, training, connectivity for health services, for education to these industries. Mr. Speaker, it's important to note that contrary to the fake news disseminated by my misinformed honorable colleague, MP Pauline Sukai, at a recent press conference, places like Massa Canary have never had internet connectivity before this year. So I want to reassure her, we're not recycling old PPP projects. This year, funding has been provided that has given internet access through a lease with Digicel to Linden, Bartica, Kwakwani, Madhya, Port Kaituma, Santa Rosa, Matthews Ridge, Barometer, and also satellite services to 9 hinterland locations, including Maradang, Massa Canary, Aishelton, Anai, St. Ignatius, Requama, Sand Creek, Karasabai, and Paramakatoy. I'm taking the time to list all of these because for too long we have been spouting the inaccuracy that nothing is being done in our hinterland regions. I am happy to say we are now beginning to transform them. Mr. Speaker, I want to also mention that the Honourable Member Burton would have come to this House and dared to criticize the pace of ICT development in the hinterland, and that I consider a travesty. Mr. Speaker, today we pay premium price to connect these regions, and why is that? That is because the PPP's commitment to build a new fiber optic cable that cost $2 billion that went right down the drain was never delivered. So I say to the people in this honorable House, when my colleagues on the other side are screaming and shouting about corruption, where did that $2 billion go? I would love to know. Mr. Speaker, now they shout in the usual abusive way, you're in power now, fix it, fix it. Well, yes, we are fixing it. We are going across this country, across all sectors, picking up the pieces and fixing it. And it's taking longer than we thought, but we're going to get there. Mr. Speaker, let me inform you of another disseminator of more fake news. Again, the Honourable MP Gillian Burton. Yesterday in this House, the Honourable member stated that there had been little ICT development. Quote her, ICT development has been marking time, but I will remind my colleagues that she got her years mixed up because ICT development was marking time in 2012 when you established the same e-government network that lay dormant for 3 years that this government, this APNU, A plus AFC government put into place in 2015. Mr. Speaker, who is really marking time? Who was marking time? So I also want to highlight some more fake news thrown at unsuspecting Guyanese. The most honorable, thankfully, the former Minister of Amerindian Affairs, who at a pre-EPP press conference expressed the view that Budget 2018 had nothing to bridge the divide between the hinterland and the coast. Members of this honorable House, I have said to you, I have given you the numbers, I have given you the locations. So I would just say to her, next time, just the facts, please, the facts. I want to reassure my Indigenous brothers and sisters that we are committed, and we have come to several of your villages providing sustainable internet access that allows you to sell your hammocks online, your tomato ketchup, your tourism services, and you and I know that many of you are doing just that. This year's budget provides $50 million for improved solar solutions for the same ICT hubs that we're connecting in your areas. $15 million to procure more fiber optic cable to connect you and other parts of our country. $16 million for more internet access points, and $20 million for power redundancy at our data center. We have provided internet access to your students. I have been to the Bena Hill Institute, to the St. Ignatius High School. I have seen and talked with you, and now I know that you are running 4 of your 6, soon to come it'll be 6, radio stations. And so these hinterland communities, for the first time, have the ability to inform, educate, and entertain themselves with their own information. All these new initiatives from the same APNU AFC government that so many on the other side love to hate. This year, we expanded the e-government network to include 42 IFMIS agencies, providing increased operational support to the Ministry of Finance. And now we're hosting several government websites and email accounts. The single development that really has started the process of transformation to a smarter digital Guyana in 2018, and that will be bringing tremendous benefits in the area of online learning, in health, and through the connection and creation of smart health centers with better health facilities and smart classrooms, is in fact the development of our internet hubs. In 2017, 10 new hubs were commissioned specifically in Berbice alone. And I mentioned, of course, that right now we have commissioned over 86 of those hubs. 10 in Berbice alone, And I'm happy to say that in the Linden area, we were also able to complete 9. Pilot public internet access points have been set up at the Aquatic Center, the National Track and Field Center, the headquarters of the NDMA. And in early 2019, we will be working with a few of the NGO organizations and the Ministry of Social Protection to provide free internet access, and I want to say safe internet access to children's homes so they too can benefit. Mr. Speaker, as you may already know, CSEC now requires that SBAs be submitted online. And that is why ensuring that we have internet access in schools, we have connected, as I mentioned, 94 schools, is so important. We are ensuring that regardless of where you are in Guyana, whether you have internet at home or not, there is an ICT hub close to where you live where you are going to be able to go and get free internet access, training, and support. Now, many of the members on the other side lambaste and complain that little is being done for our young people. I want to say that all that I've explained to you has actually created, with the help of the Ministry of Public Telecommunications, the environment upon which our young generation of Guyanese have been able to shine. And I wanted to share a few of them. Intellect Storm, all below the age of 35, are the developers of the Directory GY product. Many of you might have known it from the Jubilee celebrations, and they still exist, the fastest way to know what's showing at a cinema. They've already developed a payment system, www Payments GY. This product allows users to pay for commodities online using GT&T's mobile money business. And with the current World Bank, Government of Guyana, Bank of Guyana Financial Payment Systems Project, which was again reported in the news, so I'm not sure how my learned friend Gillian Burton seemed unaware to know about it, but that project in itself is tackling the very important challenge of being able to pay for services online. Another group, Vision 75, the winners of the 2016 hackathon, has already developed a product that allows citizens to electronically provide alerts to government agencies, whether it has to do with crime, damaged roads, or whatever. Another innovative group, InnoSys, the winners of the 2017 Code Sprint, they have actually developed an online agricultural commodity exchange system to match buyers and sellers of all agricultural products so that they can conduct business transactions. That is the kind of transformation ICT is bringing to this country. InnoSys was also the winners of the 2017 hackathon, and they've developed an online tax collection and payment systems specifically for neighborhood democratic councils. So during this period, there are a range of other digital entrepreneurs. Many of you might be using Uber, our local version of Uber, to book your taxis. And of course, we have people like We Own Space, a local entrepreneurship hive, and DevX, and they're all producing products and services online. I want to say that our Internet Week, just about 6 weeks ago, had over 300 young students, enthusiastic young people, and individuals interested in ICT development, right there for an entire week, having an opportunity to learn from the best in the Caribbean region and our local professionals. So I want to say that we have continued to do our work. We're working with the Ministry of Education to process exam results for both the grade 6 and the grade 9 assessments, the Ministry of Social Protection to streamline our pension payment plan, and of course with my colleague of Minister of Citizenship to refine our passport application process. And of course I mentioned Ministry of Finance and the IFMIS program. So in order to sustain these activities in 2018, $700 million have been allocated. And as I mentioned, we have our national broadband project. The national ICT strategy is being developed. This is a 10-year strategy, and we are now in the process of doing consultations on that strategy. New legislation is very, very important for this sector. Intellectual property protection, we want to make sure that Guyana is able to put itself in a position where it can provide security to any offshore or local provider who wants to know that their intellectual knowledge is protected. Other legislation that we're working on in 2018 includes the e-commerce and e-transaction legislation, and of course the cybersecurity legislation, which is already in the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we are moving ahead with the creation of our telecommunications agency, which comes under the ministry. And this, of course, as you know, is part of our liberalization process. Already for that agency, we've created the structure and a range of deliverables so that we are down to start before the end of the first quarter. And as I've said before, we have not signed off on our liberalization agreement with AT&T and GTT, but we are making good progress. The ministry has also commissioned studies to ensure that when it comes to spectrum management and frequency management and policy, we have come up with a system that is workable. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention the post offices. Post offices in Guyana, as many of us know, have been neglected for several decades. And I'm happy to say that, as happens in other post offices throughout the world, we are transforming the postal services. Many of you might have heard of Swift Shipping, which has been doing great gifts. It's great guns. It is a shipping program by which you are able to get a mailbox in Miami. We've acquired warehouse facilities. So I urge you to ensure that you don't hand deliver your cards this Christmas, but put a stamp on it, and also to ship through the post office. We are also creating ICT hubs at our post offices, and many of you may have known of the post office at Kitty Post Office, which is a shining example. Right there we have a small internet hub with, again, internet connectivity and laptops for anybody in the area that needs to visit. Mr. Speaker, an important function of the National Frequency Management Unit recently has been preparing broadcasters for the conversion from analog to digital broadcasting. And we've held a consultation on that. And we are working hand in hand with the broadcasters. Now, I want to respond specifically to some of the criticisms that were, and questions that were raised. Again, the Honorable Gillian Burton MP questioned about the promised lightning speed of the internet. Member Burton, I don't want to remind you that we could have been further along the way had we not thrown $2 billion down the drain. You also mentioned about a $30,000 charge per laptop. And I want to say, unfortunately, again, you're getting a little mixed up. That is actually the program on the CPCE, which has been in operations for many years, in fact, under the previous administration. And of course, you may know, if you did some research, that it is a revolving fund. It was set up under the World Bank. And under that program, you do pay $30,000 for the laptop. I do want to say that, again, there's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately. And coming from a broadcast environment, I feel strongly that the importance of accuracy of information is critical, especially in this House and when we are members of the media transmitting information to the general public. We have a responsibility to inform them accurately. So yesterday we had huge shouts and laughter, individuals scoffing at the $500 increase in pension. I do want to mention that in 2003, the former government increased pension by $92. By $90 in 2004. By $95 in 2005. And thank goodness to the then opposition, the pension was increased by $1,495. That was our work. But guess what? In 2010, the increase went back down to $300. But I want our listeners and the people of Guyana to know that in just 2.5 years, this government has increased pensions 49%. Mr. Speaker, the plight of our sugar workers, is dear to all of us. We continue to worry, and I want to reassure the sugar workers that we have been working assiduously to find proper solutions to this problem. What I want to say is that so easily we forget that the problems of the sugar industry started 20, 30 years ago. And it is sad that the last government did little or nothing to solve it. We forget too that the former government shut down LBI, shut down Diamond, closed and more to set up an $18 million sugar packaging factory, a packaging factory that I think still hasn't worked. But guess what? Given our commitment to the sugar industry, in 33 months, we have given contribution, support, bailout, whatever you want to call it, to the tune of $32 billion. That works out to more than $1 billion a month. And this year, we continue our commitment by giving a further $6.2 billion to the industry. But I'll tell you what is sad. I went to Wales and had discussions with several of those sugar workers. And what was shameful is that when they were talking about the challenges that they have, you know what one of the number one challenge was? The fact that their NIS payments were not paid over for the last 15 years. And any government that did not ensure that Gaisuko was paying over those same pension things. So when we talk about fake news, we know. And the louder you shout, I can shout louder, it is not a problem. Not a problem at all. Ladies, honorable Speaker, members of this most honorable House, I am excited at the vision that is being created and implemented for a new Guyana. In our ICT sector, as you can see, we are training, we are creating jobs, and we are changing lives. I had the good fortune to be at a youth training program on Sunday and to see the innovative individuals that are already producing their own fruits, processed fruits, and all kinds of different applications, agricultural products. I met a lady who is now advertising her fruit delivery service online. I met another lady about 2 months ago who is selling tamarind balls to people in the diaspora online. And therefore I say, we are slowly but surely picking up the pieces, yes, of the past, but moving forward to a very vibrant future. Given all that I have said, all that I've shared, I am extremely optimistic that this ICT sector will, for the first time, finally begin to transform our dear land of Guyana. I have no hesitation in supporting this budget and commending it to this most honorable House for passage. Thank you.